Hi guys, and welcome to this little short video. I've got a special guest with us today. I've got Will Lockett from Specialist Finance Group, a major aggregator in domiciled in Perth.
Yes, thank you. Yep, head office is in Perth. We are major now and represented on a national basis, but one of the ones where we're still kept very much our head office back in our birthplace, which is Perth, yes.
And thank you so much for coming to Melbourne.
No, it's always a pleasure, a pleasure to get away from home and particularly a great city like Melbourne.
Now, Will, thank you for coming. I just want to ask you a couple of quick questions for this interview.
Yes.
We are now at the tail end of 2019. This year has been turbulent for the industry, and coming into 2020, which is really much around the corner. I like to do a series of interviews asking for thought leads in terms of what they think is going to happen, how brokers should relax, and I suppose what they should be thinking about rather than falling to the fear, basically.
Yeah, well, Dion, I think our industry has gone through 12 months of something that I've never seen before in our 28 years. I won't say our industry has dodged a bullet, but our industry has dodged some very detrimental changes that were proposed, and our industry unfortunately went through a period of the last 6 or 9 months that were quite detrimental, were quite unnecessary. Our industry as a whole is very professional and regulated, both in terms of ASIC and self-regulation, and our industry always tries to improve and get better, but it didn't need the potential ramifications of the Royal Commission. It created a lot of uncertainty, a lot of harm, and it did a lot of damage to our industry. That our industry has rebounded, and the strength of our industry, and particularly not only everyone that plays a part in third party, but the major associations such as the MFAA and the FBAA are very much led from the front to again reiterate the strength that our third party brings to the Australian consumer.
It's not to forget, obviously, the work that you've done as well, because as a head of aggregators as well, you've come into bat for the industry like no other as well, and it's just more. I think we're led pretty well.
Yeah, I think it was testament to our industry. We, like a lot of aggregators, we felt very strongly with regards to the Royal Commission recommendations and the disrespect or, the third-party channel or the service proposition that brokers provided to the Australian consumer weren't being recognised. So the great thing about not only the industry bodies, but all aggregators, and we were one of those aggregators that came together, and we really built a teamwork or a framework to fight the change. And I think it was a proud effort, as I said before, just because we're competitors doesn't make us enemies. And we all had a common goal to work together, and it was unique, it was wonderful, it achieved the right result, and we now as an industry and industry players have to continue to work together as well to ensure that our industry not only continues to grow, but it continues to prosper.
Now, just as a segue, because right now there's a lot of, in the last couple of weeks actually, there's lots of media articles and so forth with regards to, in a sense, responsible lending.
Yes.
The conversations coming back to, which has been miscommunicated to the general public.
Yes.
That brokers only care about how much they get paid.
Yes.
And, it's disheartening to see that, people are still thinking they deserve the cheapest, which they do. But the problem is that they don't realise how much work the broker goes through to actually choose the right product for the customer. And now we're looking at a sense of, almost like they're trying to legislate something that brokers has already been doing since day dot.
Correct.
So What do you
Brokers take a very responsible approach to all applications across the board. Let's not forget as well that brokers don't approve the deals.
Correct.
Brokers are not giving their money. So brokers are working towards template and assessment rates, which is part of serviceability and the cost of living within the time frame and the parameters or the templates that they have to work towards, and they've always done that. And in terms of that, brokers also, we talk about being responsible, but we also talk about that emotional maturity that I mentioned to you before. We know the cost of living, you know. We don't shirk away from the cost of living. Brokers have been doing that from day one. You know, in my 28 years of being an aggregator in Australia, I have never received one complaint, not one complaint in 28 years, where a broker has not followed the responsible lending guidelines. So you're right when you say that they've always adhered to that. If anything, it's probably the banks who haven't adhered to it, but that's another story. But certainly brokers at the coalface have always taken a responsible view to people's expenditure.
Yeah, because obviously at the end of the day as well, I mean, as a bank, you know, when a customer goes to a bank, there's nothing stopping from that, you know, if it doesn't qualify, that the bank is not going to say, hey, there's another lender out there for you, are there? They just stop it.
Yeah, well,
so why, I'm flabbergasted as to why we're even discussing this at the moment.
Well, I suppose because, you know, we live in, I suppose the cost of living has come up because we're operating within unparalleled times. You know, we have, you know, cash rates at just over 1%. You know, we've got interest rates at record low. You know, unemployment's okay. Cost of living is high. You know, you've got almost, you know, 975,000 homes in Australia today with negative equity because home lending is down. So I think there's other factors, important factors, that put a light on, you know, the cost of living per se, okay, which is unfairly, the brunt has unfairly landed at the foot of the broker and not necessarily the right people.
So what do you think, I guess, some people are focusing on brokers rather than the actual banks, because obviously it's, number one, is unfair. Number two, with a big organisation such as a lender, when something goes wrong, and I'll be, you know, I'm happy to discuss this further later on, but anecdotally, when a lender does something wrong, they just get moved on. There's no punishment, there's no repercussions. But whereas, say a broker does something wrong that's found to be fraudulent and so forth, that's their whole entire business gone. It's gone. Correct. Right? And they could lose houses and everything else. But yeah, with lenders, and this was also, I think, anecdotally in the financial planning space, where a planner does something wrong, they move to a different organisation, and then they start again with no punishment.
Well, I think, and this is no disrespect to financial planners out there. There's a lot of them that do the right thing, but financial planning and mortgage broking are clearly two different things. Clearly two different things.
I just want to fix this again. It's not. I'm talking about planners that was working for banks, just like a lender that was working for a bank, not independent. Yeah.
Well, I think you look no further. The two key stats. When you have 55% of the market and 55% of all Australians out there choosing to use a broker to obtain the most suitable loan for them, that tells you something.
Yeah.
So clearly that tells you something. Now, and when you look at the complaints in the financial services sector, the complaints in relation to mortgage brokers is a ridiculous low, which is fantastic, because those two things, no more than anything else, shows that the third-party channel or mortgage brokers are doing the right thing. And as good as banks are, you know, Dion, I could walk into a bank and whether I qualify or whether I don't qualify is one hurdle. But I may qualify for a loan, but it may not be the most suitable loan for me. The particular bank that I'm talking to is not going to say to me, will you qualify for this loan? But the best loan is actually the bank across the road, so I will take you across there. So the financial institution's not going to do that.
No, absolutely not.
Where the mortgage broker does. And fundamentally, not in every service proposition that the mortgage broker provides, but the mortgage broker basically, in a lot of the time, provides their service and their expertise for free. Okay? So they get paid if you as a consumer, okay, ultimately get the loan that you want. Now, Dion, I could be your finance broker and I could sit in front of you and your family for one appointment or 3 appointments. You are under no commitment to use me at all. You can walk away at any stage and at no cost. But you and 55% of the market chooses to stay. That alone shows the mortgage brokers are doing the right thing.
Correct, definitely. And not just that, but you'll be doing it more like after hours, and usually on the weekends.
Well, you tell me when you pick a bank and you ring up the bank and you say, Mr. Bank, my wife and I work, can you come over after dinner tonight? Or can you come around on a Saturday morning? The answer is no. So not only do they make it more convenient, when you look at some parts of rural Australia where banks and their proprietary channels have pulled back, okay, it's made the necessity or the requirement for the broker to be even more important. So in terms of that, also, let me tell you this, when you do go and see the bank, and let's say you do see them during hours, because they don't come after hours, is the person in the bank in Collins Street, Melbourne here today, are they going to give you their mobile phone number and say, call me? No. And let me ask you this, are they going to go all the way through on the particular service model? Because what does happen a lot with banks is I could start being your bank person today, but tomorrow or next week when you ring up and you give me your reference number, more than likely you're dealing with somebody else within the bank as well that doesn't have that full understanding or that footprint about what they're doing for you. So the customer care factor, in my belief, is significantly more with that one-on-one relationship with consumers have with their brokers. And also when you have a broker where you're sitting down and you're meeting, say, every party that's to the mortgage or to the loan, and you're sitting at their place of work or their home, you see their family, you see their pet animals, you engage, so you create that empathy and that trust. So you create a relationship that is very, very hard for banks and other parties to emulate. So that's why all of that provides an undoubted plus to the value proposition and service model that mortgage brokers provide their customers.
And as you said before, the numbers speak for themselves, don't they?
Numbers, you know, as I said, I've never received a complaint that, I can't remember where a consumer said they had to use a mortgage broker. They were forced to use a mortgage broker. I don't think, Dion, there's been one. I haven't seen a mortgage broker kick anyone out of their house or kick them off their farm. So, no, it's a pure win-win for the consumer. And, and you're going to find over the course of the next 5 or 10 years, that 55% is not going to diminish. It's only going to grow.
Yep.
So you'll find in the next 5 years, that'll hit 60% and beyond, and it won't be stopped. Because it's something that the consumers want.
And they're choosing.
So,
well, thank you so much for that and your thoughts on that. So I think one last thing I'd like your opinions on is obviously with regards to, we've seen the market share go up to close to 6 out of 10.
Yep.
And then obviously you see some lenders pull back in terms of branch presence, and they're trying to invest in tech. Now, so lenders aside, for the broker, how do you see tech helping the broker's business as well as yours? Right? Because we see a lot of conversations inside the community with regards to who what products and services do brokers use to make their lives easier? And I think, if I'm right, you guys have invested in something as well,
Yeah.
which helps the broker, makes the broker's life easier, right? So,
Well, I suppose we live in the world of technology now. You know, boy, haven't we seen changes? You know, our brokering market would have been, 15 years ago with a pen and paper and a calculator.
yes.
But these days, and our industry is no different than most other progressive and evolving industries where technology plays a vital role. It doesn't necessarily, for a lot of people, play the role that it's sitting in front of the consumer, but the tools that technology provides brokers and businesses is absolutely vital. When we look at the products on the market today, and there are many thousands of products, many thousands, that is the gateway for brokers to have access to those products, to have knowledge to those products, to have their consumers having access to those products. So that in itself is obviously a substantial key, but technology also plays a vital role for the ongoing maintenance. Okay, because when you have relationships with people, and when to say again, gone are the days where you have the Teledex rolling card, and I look for you on that deal, and I think, well, where are you? But
Yes.
but in terms of the data that we're able to store and the information that we're able to have on our consumers that make us better at what we do, make our relationship better with our consumers, and we grow a business for that. I mean to say technology is going to drive that. I mean to say we can't do that manually anymore. Okay, so technology plays a vital role both at the front end between the mortgage broker and the consumer, but also behind the front end between the mortgage broker running their business, and part in running their business is making sure the services that they provide to their consumers is efficient, is up to date, because their consumers and their business partners are evolving with technology. They must also do the same.
Yep. So I love to ask, what your message to the brokers are, because, I've been a lender BDM in the past, and I've seen aggregators go, hey, here's a training session for you to come and use our CRM to really effectively make your job better, make your job faster. But some brokers choose not to do it, which is very a shame, because you guys spend time, obviously spend money, and you're trying to make your members, good at what they do. So I guess it's almost disrespectful when someone doesn't turn up, or they turn up but they don't listen, right? Because effectively you're providing someone with a tool. Right?
Listen, if brokers, and we're talking about brokers, if brokers do not want to evolve and grow and improve their business, their business operations, then they fall behind, and they eventually will drift further and further behind where it becomes too difficult, and maybe they need to exit. Whether you are a mortgage broker or whether you are a bricklayer or a carpenter, you need always to constantly evolve, upskill, and you need to have the tools of the trade.
Yep.
Okay? No question about that at all. And, I suppose, brokers are no different, and I suppose our, probably coming from WA, where the brokering market originated from, okay, and you've got a lot of people that probably find change resistance, that they don't like change, and we've all been there, but mortgage brokering is a profession. It's not a part-time job. We are dealing with crucial elements and crucial services in recommending and talking to consumers. So we have a duty of care to always ensure that we have the best possible tools available for us that help us and that help us recommend and give that service model. So to any broker out there that is not evolving or not having the tools of their trade, okay, they will continue to fall behind the eight ball, okay, and those brokers should really exit the business or exit the industry, because if you're not looking to re-educate, re-regulate and to improve, then you might as well get out.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, hope you found that helpful. Please comment below and like and get in touch with us if you have any questions. And we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.